We had a very strange magnitude 2.1 earthquake in Maine today on the East Coast. Did you know that Maine is hiding supervolcanoes underneath? It has at least 5 volcanoes in Maine. 4 are in a 100-mile distance from each other. And most of these beautiful seacoasts that we see on Maine, beautiful lakes, most of the lakes are crater lakes of the volcanoes. And all these beautiful mountains that we see with lakes are, of course, the remnants of various volcanoes in the area. One of them is Jordan Pond, another one is Arcadia Park. And we'll take a look at the location of this area because these main volcanoes are situated basically in the same line of volcanoes that we have on the East Coast, underwater submarine volcanoes, the 30 volcanoes that are pointing from the mid-Atlantic trench towards the East Coast. But we know that Maine's volcanoes were very ancient. They could have been the biggest eruptions ever on Earth, according to geologist Sheila Seaman, according to what she says, reporting on the Geological Society of America annual meeting. She says long before there were these things called supervolcanoes, we've known about giant, big, horrific silicic volcanic eruptions. The most massive of these blasts in recent history was Toba, which blew up an island in Indonesia 2.5 million years ago. The explosion heaved 700 cubic miles or 2,800 cubic kilometers of magma out of the Earth's crust. And around 420 million years ago, a series of super eruptions dropped thick piles of ash and lava fragments along the proto-east coast of North America. These are at least 4 volcanoes spread out along 100 miles of Maine's coast. The huge volcanic rock piles are consistent with caldera-forming eruptions, Seaman says, and these explosions emptied magma chamber, leaving gaping wounds in the earth. You can think of Yellowstone National Park or San Juan volcanic field in Colorado. And since they formed, the ancient volcanic layers have been tilted up by tectonic forces, providing a top-to-bottom slice through a supervolcano. For example, Île aux Hauts, which is part of Arcadia National Park, one of the volcanoes of Maine, exposes the heart of the volcano. The whole magma chamber is lying on its side there, building on years of geologic mapping and tectonic reconstructions. Seaman has traced a direct connection between the cooled and crystallized magma chambers called plutons and their enormous ash deposits. Volcanic rock layers on Maine's Cranberry Island, that's another volcano, have a 2,300 foot thick layer of welded tuff, a rock forming from volcanic ash, and the welded tuff from Toba's most recent blowout is 2,000 feet thick, so the one at Maine's Cranberry Island was a lot bigger. On the remote island, remote Île aux Hauts, part of Arcadia National Park, the volcanic rocks are more than 3 miles thick. They're capped by an immense ash flow more than 3,200 feet thick. And Seaman explains that she estimates the caldera at Mount Desert Island would have been about 15 miles long, 15 miles wide. For comparison, Toba's caldera is 62 miles long and 18 miles wide. She says that the coast is so serene and so beautiful and has such a terrible, violent past, though. Seaman thinks the super eruption struck between 424 million, 400 to 19 million years ago in the Silurian period, after islands the size of Japan slammed into the eastern edge of Laurentia. That's where we have the area of the St. Lawrence River. The Laurentia is the continental core of North America. Afterwards, tectonic forces stretched and tore Earth's crust behind the collision zone, and making space for magma to rise from the mantle. Now, let's take a look at the quakes so you can understand where the seamount is as well. Okay, here we are at Sizewell, Berkeley, and I'll leave links below for you for this. This is our earthquake here in Maine. It's very superficial, 4.5 kilometers depth, very shallow. And we have had other earthquakes in this area, smaller of course, 2.1 in Canada, but that's just north of upstate New York. So you can see basically this is the same geological area. Okay, so this area here, from past videos that I've done on this area, this here around just across the border in Quebec is an area of caldera-like Yellowstone supervolcano type of magma chambers there. So think Yellowstone, think them over here. This was one of the biggest super eruptions of the past. Now, going back to this, our 2.1 that happened today, July 4th. 6 people reported feeling it. Now, let's go to our map. I don't think they don't have the shaking of it, but let's go to our tectonics. Again, they're not going to have tectonics there, but anyway, population has not been working the past few days. Let's go to the aerial. Okay, this is right here. This is all of Maine, and it's about, what is it, about 200 miles across. Is it 200 miles across? I think it's about 200 miles across. Anyway, maybe 250. And this is our aerial. That's where it was. Let's pull out, and you can see where we are. St. Lawrence Seaway right here. Look at that. There's a crack there. What is that? That's the first time I've seen that. Okay, when we look, don't look at the aerials. We don't see what's going on. Okay, look at that crack. Oh, my goodness. All right, so this is the Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. This is the Great Lakes. There's a magma plume, a mantle plume right under there, which was there for about 900 million years ago. And that is our area that we have our mid-continental rift. It's like a horseshoe-shaped thing. This is New Madrid seismic zone right there. This is our main quake 2.1. And this is what I told you about. Okay, this is a mid-Atlantic ridge right there, the end of the continental plate of North America. This is the African plate and the European plate. These are the Azores right there, the volcanic islands. This is all magma underneath, of course, and it's rifting. This is where the Earth is growing, rifting. Now here we have 30 undersea water volcanoes right here, and you can see how they're pointing right here into the main area. Okay, they're pointing this way, and there is magma under there. There's magma under the Carolinas as well, and there's magma under here as well, and there's magma under here, as we said, under the mid-continental. Nobody talks about that though. The mid-continental rift. We've had some. This magma here goes into Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, and then switches over. It goes into New Mexico. It goes west into New Mexico. They don't know where that mantle plume is coming from, but there's magma under there. So a lot of these quakes that we have in Oklahoma and Kansas can be from there. We have 15 volcanoes in Kansas. A lot of them are diamond-spewing volcanoes or kimberlite volcanoes in Kansas. We also have volcanoes in this area here, Baffin Island. Those are also, there's magma under there. Those are also diamond-spewing volcanoes. So this is the area of Maine where we have our Maine volcanoes, with our beautiful pictures of the Maine volcanoes, as you can see here, up here, okay? The Acadia National Park volcanoes, all the remnants of the lava fields. Here, Acadia again, Acadia National Park, and you can see the rock formation are hard and tough. All this beautiful landscape is all, of course, the volcanoes of Maine. So I'll leave links below for you for this, and all of you there, please be very careful. We have to know that the earthquakes that we feel in the East Coast are felt much more easily because the area there, the sediment is so much softer. People in New England and its geological extension south through Long Island have felt small earthquakes. and suffered damage from infrequent larger ones since colonial times. Moderately damaging earthquakes strike somewhere in the region every few decades, and smaller earthquakes are felt roughly twice a year. Boston area damaged 3 times in 28 years in the mid-1700s, and New York City damaged in 1737 and 1884. The largest known New England quakes occurred in 1638, magnitude 6.5 in Vermont or New Hampshire. Earthquakes in central United States and eastern U.S., although less frequent than the western U.S., are typically felt over a much broader region. East of the Rockies, the earthquakes will be felt over an area as much as 10 times larger than a smaller magnitude earthquake on the west coast. A magnitude 4 eastern U.S. quake typically can be felt at many places as far as 60 miles from where it occurred, and it infrequently causes damage near its source. Magnitude 5.5 East U.S. quake usually can be felt as far as 300 miles from where it occurred, sometimes causing damage as far as away as 25 miles. And faults, they don't know where most of these faults are. They're usually deep and old, and they don't know them unless there's an earthquake. So that's what they say here, but this is one of the things I have to look into, this thing here. This crack is really something. Look at this. Now we do have another crack here from here. You can see it's a 2,200 mile crack right here, and it ends here, New Madrid seismic zone, and there's another crack, of course, going from the Mississippi, flanking Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and up to St. Lawrence Seaway. That's the New Madrid seismic rift zone. And this one here is the transcontinental line right there. You can see part of it right there, ending here. This, I don't know what that is. I have to look into that. What is that? If anybody knows, please let me know what that is. It's lakes and rivers. And that's another river there. I have to look into that, but that's okay. That is definitely another river. I have to look into that. These are the Great Lakes. I used to live in Ithaca, New York. Great Lakes region, beautiful waterfalls and lakes. We used to swim in those lakes. Okay, I don't know what that is, but that is another area of fracturing. As we said before, the New Madrid seismic zone is a rift valley. It should actually be called New Madrid Rift Valley. And so all of you there, please be very careful. And happy 4th of July to everybody. Please remember to keep social distancing. Thank you for your support. God bless you all. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.